The edge of known space. Captain Zarax of the Dracovian Empire stood at the viewport of his command vessel, Stellar Claw, his obsidian scales reflecting the distant starlight. At 30 feet tall, he was impressive even by Dracovian standards, his biomechanical augmentations gleaming beneath his natural armor. The recent battle had left its mark, a lucky shot from a hegemony cruiser had penetrated his supposedly impenetrable defenses. Status report, he rumbled, his translator converting the complex harmonics of his native tongue into standard galactic common. Medical Station Eden 7 is within range, Captain, his second-in-command, Lieutenant Crix, reported. However, our intelligence suggests it's primitive. Staffed primarily by humans. Zarax's upper lip curled in contempt. Humans. The galaxy's newest spacefaring species, barely 2 centuries into their expansion. Yet they had already established themselves in every corner of known space, like an invasive species that couldn't be contained. Alternatives, he questioned, a tendril of plasma escaping from between his teeth. The nearest Dracovian medical facility is 17 parsecs away, sir. Given your injury's deterioration rate. Zarax silenced his subordinate with a gesture. The pain was becoming unbearable, even for his enhanced nervous system. The shot had somehow bypassed his shields and struck a vulnerable spot beneath his tertiary plasma gland. With each passing hour, the wound was affecting more of his augmented systems. Set course for Eden 7, he commanded, his voice carrying the weight of someone unused to compromise. And send ahead our diplomatic credentials. The approach to Eden 7 was unremarkable. The station was a standard human design, all function, no aesthetics. Its cylindrical shape bristled with communication arrays and docking ports, looking more like a mechanical seed pod than a medical facility. Yet something about it made Zarax's combat instincts stir. As they drew closer, his enhanced vision caught details his crew missed. The station's defense grid was subtly more advanced than its outward appearance suggested. The seemingly random arrangement of sensor pods followed a pattern he recognized from ancient warfare texts. This station was designed to appear vulnerable while being anything but. Sir, Crix interrupted his observations, we're receiving transmission from the station. Text only. Zarax's secondary eyes narrowed. Text only. In an age of holographic communication, that was almost insulting. The message appeared on his neural interface. Eden 7 Medical acknowledges your approach. Docking Bay 3 prepared for Dracovian physiology. Dr. Mitchell awaiting your arrival. Standard medical protocols apply. No mention of his rank. No acknowledgement of his species' superiority. Just clinical efficiency. Zarax felt his plasma glands heat with irritation. Maintain position, he ordered his crew. I will proceed alone in the medical shuttle. Sir. Crix's protest died under Zarax's glare. Yes, sir. Shuttle prepared. The journey from the Stellar Claw to Eden 7 gave Zarax time to review what little was known about human medical facilities. Their techniques were considered primitive by most advanced species, yet they had a surprising success rate. Some even whispered that humans possessed medical knowledge that went beyond their technological level, but Zarax dismissed such rumors as propaganda. As his shuttle approached Docking Bay 3, he noticed more anomalies. The bay's dimensions were precisely calibrated for Dracovian anatomy, too precise to be coincidence. The atmospheric mix being pumped into the chamber included trace elements beneficial to his species' biology. Someone here knew far too much about Dracovians. The docking procedure was smooth, almost elegant. As the airlock cycled, Zarax prepared himself for the usual reaction his presence inspired, fear, awe, perhaps even worship from less developed species. The inner door opened with a soft hiss. He was greeted by empty space. The docking bay was automated, its systems operating with quiet efficiency. A holographic guide strip appeared on the floor, leading toward the medical section. No honor guard. No trembling officials. Not even a junior medical officer to escort him. This was either extreme confidence or extreme foolishness. Following the guide strip, Zarax had to duck his head slightly to clear the corridors. The station's interior was spotless, with none of the chaos he associated with human facilities. The walls were lined with medical equipment he didn't recognize, some of it humming at frequencies that made his augments tingle. He reached a sealed door marked Special Procedures Unit. Before he could activate the console, the door slid open, revealing a surprising sight. A human female, barely reaching his lower thoracic region, stood reviewing data on a holographic display. Her white medical uniform was immaculate, her graying hair pulled back severely from a face lined with age. She didn't look up as he entered. "Captain Zarax," she said, her voice carrying no trace of fear or awe. "I'm Dr. Mitchell. You're late. The plasma degradation in your tertiary gland has progressed further than necessary. Remove your armor and take position in the medical cradle." Zarax felt his combat systems activate automatically. No one ordered him with such casual authority. His plasma glands began to glow with building energy. Dr. Mitchell finally looked up, her expression unchanged. "Your threats are noted, Captain, but irrelevant. You have approximately 43 minutes before the plasma degradation reaches critical levels. Your choice: comply with treatment protocols, or expire in a rather spectacular but ultimately pointless display of pride. The paperwork would be identical either way." For the first time in his centuries-long career, Captain Zarax of the Dracovian Empire found himself completely at a loss for words. The human had just done the impossible, she had made him feel small. Secrets of Eden, 7. The medical cradle looked nothing like standard human medical equipment. Its surface rippled with nano-adaptive material, already configuring itself to Dracovian physiology. Dr. Mitchell moved with practiced efficiency, activating systems that shouldn't exist in a frontier medical station. "Your augmentation pattern is interesting," she commented, studying holographic readouts that tracked his internal systems. "Third-generation Chronos tech, but with modifications I haven't seen before. Custom work?" Zarax's secondary heart skipped a beat. The Chronos augmentation program was one of the Dracovian Empire's most closely guarded secrets. "How do you?" "The neural interface patterns are distinctive," she interrupted, adjusting controls that made his augments tingle. "Though whoever did the installation didn't account for potential plasma backflow. That's why the enemy fire caused so much damage. Your systems are fighting each other." The cradle's surface shifted, conforming perfectly to his armored form. Diagnostic tendrils extended, seeking connection points that no human should know existed. Dr. Mitchell's fingers danced across holographic controls, bringing up detailed schematics of Dracovian biology that even Zarax had never seen. "You're not just a doctor," he growled, his combat systems still itching to activate. "No," she agreed simply, preparing what looked like a modified particle accelerator. "Now, this next part will be unpleasant. Your augments will attempt to reject the procedure. Try not to fight it, that would be unfortunate for both of us." Before Zarax could respond, pain exploded through his nervous system. His vision fragmented, augmented reality displays going haywire. Through the chaos, he caught glimpses of Dr. Mitchell working with inhuman precision, her movements too quick and too accurate for normal human reflexes. Fascinating defense mechanisms, her voice seemed to come from far away. "Your species' natural regeneration combined with the augments, there it is. The connection point." The pain suddenly focused, becoming a laser-sharp point beneath his tertiary plasma gland. Zarax tried to roar, but his vocal systems were offline. On the edge of consciousness, he saw something impossible, Dr. Mitchell's hands moving through his armored scales as if they were water, manipulating technology that shouldn't exist. "Stay with me, Captain," she commanded. "Your augments are trying to initiate emergency shutdown. Fighting that would be messy." Through blurred vision, Zarax noticed something odd about the doctor's movements. They were too smooth, too precise. And beneath her surgical gloves, something seemed to shimmer. The pain peaked, then vanished so suddenly that Zarax's systems crashed into reset mode. When his vision cleared, Dr. Mitchell was calmly removing her gloves, the impossible equipment already retracting into the walls. "The procedure is complete," she announced, making notes on a holographic display. "Your augments will need 6 hours to recalibrate. During that time, you'll experience disorientation and possible temporal displacement. This is normal." Zarax tried to move, finding his motor functions sluggish. What did you do to me?" "Saved your life, technically speaking." She pulled up a detailed scan of his internal systems. "The plasma containment breach was more severe than you realized. Another hour and your augments would have initiated an emergency purge. Messy business, especially in an enclosed space." The medical cradle began to retract, allowing Zarax to sit up. His combat systems were coming back online, running diagnostics that showed improvement. Not just repair, but optimization. His augments were performing better than when they were first installed. "Who are you really?" he demanded, his voice carrying less authority than he intended. Dr. Mitchell smiled for the first time, a small, knowing expression that made Zarax's combat instincts scream in warning. "Someone who's seen enough war to know its cost." She turned to a cabinet, retrieving what looked like ancient medical tools. "Your empire isn't the first to discover augmentation technology, Captain. Nor are you the first to think you've perfected it." She laid out the tools, crude by modern standards, yet somehow familiar. These were recovered from the ruins of the predecessor civilization. Their medical technology was ambitious. Her fingers traced one of the instruments. They thought they could perfect themselves through augmentation. Make themselves invulnerable. Immortal. Zarax's historical databases pinged with recognition. The predecessors, a mythical species that had vanished at the height of their power, leaving only ruins and mysteries. "You expect me to believe you learned your skills from ancient artifacts?" "No," Dr. Mitchell replied, her smile fading. "I learned from their mistakes." She turned back to her holographic displays. "Your empire's augmentation program, it's following the same path. Pushing the boundaries without understanding the consequences. The attack you survived. It wasn't luck that breached your defenses. Your enemies are learning." A chill ran through Zarax's systems. "How do you know about the attack?" "Because I've seen the pattern before." She pulled up new displays, showing battles he recognized, Dracovian warriors falling to seemingly inferior forces. "Your augments are becoming predictable. Adaptable, yes, but following preset patterns. The same patterns that led to the predecessor's downfall." Zarax's tactical systems were running full threat assessment now. This human didn't just know too much, she knew things that should be impossible to know. "You're not human." "Oh, I'm very human," Dr. Mitchell corrected, but something in her tone made Zarax's scales ripple. "We're just more adaptable than you think. Your empire isn't the first to underestimate us, and I doubt it will be the last." She gestured to the medical bay around them. "This station isn't just a frontier outpost, Captain. It's a research facility. We study the mistakes of the past to prevent their repetition. Your augments, impressive as they are based on incomplete understanding of predecessor technology. Technology we've spent centuries studying." The implications hit Zarax like a plasma burst. The humans hadn't just stumbled onto spacefaring technology, they'd been preparing. Learning. Waiting. "The real question," Dr. Mitchell continued, her eyes now holding an edge that made even Zarax's enhanced combat systems uneasy, "is what you're going to do with this information. Your empire believes itself invincible, just as the predecessors did. That belief is becoming your greatest weakness." She turned back to her instruments, her movements once again precisely human. "You have a choice, Captain. Return to your empire, report this encounter, and accelerate an inevitable conflict. Or. Zarax found himself asking, despite his training. Or recognize that true strength lies in knowing when to learn from those you consider beneath you. She handed him a data crystal. Your medical readings, officially showing a standard treatment for plasma containment breach. What you choose to do with the rest of what you've learned here, that's up to you. As Zarax prepared to leave Eden 7, he found himself facing a decision that no amount of augmentation could help him make. The fate of his empire might well rest on what he did next. And somewhere in the station behind him, Dr. Mitchell continued her work, humanity's secrets safe behind a carefully maintained facade of primitive simplicity. Hidden Legacies. 3 days after leaving Eden 7, Captain Zarax found himself in a secure chamber deep within the Dracovian High Command, facing the calculating gazes of the Imperial Council. His enhanced senses detected subtle changes in the chamber's security fields. They weren't just monitoring him, they were ready to terminate him if necessary. Your report is disturbing, Captain, Supreme Commander Vexthor rumbled, his ancient scales bearing the marks of countless augmentation procedures. You suggest that humans, of all species, have mastered predecessor technology? Zarax chose his words carefully, aware that his next few sentences could alter the course of galactic history. What I encountered at Eden 7 defies conventional explanation, Supreme Commander. The human physician demonstrated knowledge and capabilities that exceeded our most advanced medical technology. Yet you brought no proof, Counselor Krellax interjected, her cybernetic eyes scanning him for signs of deception. Only a standard medical report showing routine treatment. The proof is in my own systems, Zarax responded, activating his holographic interface to display his internal diagnostics. My augmentations are operating at 143% of their original specifications. No known technology should be capable of such optimization. The council chamber erupted in murmurs of disbelief and concern. Supreme Commander Vexthor raised a clawed hand for silence, his expression unreadable behind layers of biomechanical enhancement. Your systems will be analyzed thoroughly, he declared. In the meantime, tell us more about this. Dr. Mitchell. Before Zarax could respond, the chamber's security systems suddenly flared to life. Emergency containment fields snapped into place as alarms blared through the complex. Multiple breaches detected in the quantum archives, an automated voice announced. Unknown entities have penetrated primary security layers. The council members rose in unified alarm, their augmented weapons systems automatically activating. Supreme Commander Vexthor's scales rippled with barely contained plasma energy. Impossible, he snarled. The quantum archives are protected by temporal lock technology. No force in known space can. His words were cut off by a familiar voice emanating from every speaker in the chamber. Temporal locks are only effective if you understand how time actually works, Commander. Zarax's combat systems went into overdrive as he recognized Dr. Mitchell's voice. But this time, it carried none of the clinical detachment he'd encountered at Eden 7. Instead, it held an edge of ancient authority that made his augments tremble. Your empire has been playing with forces you don't comprehend, she continued. Did you really think the predecessor's fall was an accident? That their technology was simply waiting to be claimed by the next ambitious species? Holographic displays throughout the chamber activated, showing impossible images, ancient battles, fallen civilizations, and repeated patterns of rise and fall across millennia. And through it all, human figures appeared in the background, watching, learning, guiding. We were there, Dr. Mitchell's voice revealed. When the predecessors reached too far. When their augmentations became their undoing. We've been there for every civilization that found their ruins and thought they could master their power. Your empire is just the latest in a long line of species that confuse technological advancement with true evolution. Supreme Commander Vexthor's voice shook with rage and something else, fear. You dare threaten the Dracovian Empire? We will reduce your worlds to ash. No, Dr. Mitchell replied simply. You won't. Check your precious quantum archives. See what's been there all along, hidden in plain sight. The chamber's main display activated, showing streams of data that had been buried deep within the Empire's most secure databases. Star charts, battle records, and scientific data, all subtly altered, guided, shaped by an unseen hand over centuries. Humanity never stumbled into the galactic community, Dr. Mitchell explained. We've been its caretakers since before your species left their first world. The predecessors' legacy isn't their technology, it's the responsibility they left behind. A responsibility we inherited. Zarax watched as the council members' augmented systems struggled to process this revelation. Their entire understanding of galactic history, of their own technological superiority, was unraveling before them. Your recent military victories. Dr. Mitchell continued. Your technological breakthroughs. All carefully monitored, allowed only as long as you didn't threaten the balance. But now you're approaching the same threshold that destroyed the predecessors. We can't allow that. Why reveal yourselves now? Zarax found himself asking, even as his tactical systems calculated the implications. Because sometimes the best way to prevent a war is to show your opponent why it's already lost. The security fields in the chamber flickered, rearranging themselves into complex patterns that none of their systems could interpret. This is your warning, and your opportunity. The Empire stands at a crossroads. Supreme Commander Vexthor's augments were practically smoking with contained energy. You expect us to simply accept human dominion? To abandon our destiny? No, Dr. Mitchell's voice softened. We expect you to learn from history instead of repeating it. Your augmentation technology is flawed, not because it's inferior, but because it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what the predecessors were trying to achieve. They weren't seeking power. They were searching for transcendence. New data flowed through the displays, showing alternative applications of the Empire's existing technology. Applications that emphasized harmony over dominance, evolution over conquest. The choice is yours, Dr. Mitchell concluded. Continue on your current path, and face the same fate as the predecessors. Or work with us to understand the true legacy they left behind. You have one planetary rotation to decide. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. The quantum archives continued to stream their hidden contents, revealing centuries of subtle human influence throughout galactic history. Zarax looked at his own augmented systems with new understanding. His encounter at Eden 7 hadn't been a coincidence, it had been a carefully orchestrated demonstration. The question was, would his empire learn from it, or would pride drive them toward extinction? The choice. The emergency session of the Dracovian High Command stretched into its 10th hour. The Grand Assembly Hall, carved from living crystal and enhanced with quantum neural interfaces, hummed with tension. Representatives from all 7 Imperial fleets had been summoned, their massive forms filling the tiered seats that rose like a reverse cascade into the shadows of the vaulted ceiling. Captain Zarax stood at the center of it all, his testimony being dissected for the 12th time. Above him, the holographic displays continued streaming data recovered from the quantum archives, proof of humanity's hidden influence throughout their history. The implications are unsettling, Fleet Admiral Zarax announced, her scales shimming with embedded quantum processors. Our analysis confirms that the optimization of Captain Zarax's augments exceeds our current technological capabilities. The humans have been watching us, guiding us, perhaps even, controlling us. Then we should strike now. General Krosthor bellowed, plasma flaring from his enhanced vocal apparatus. While we still have the chance. Our combined fleets could reduce their worlds to cosmic dust before they already know. The quiet voice cut through the chamber like a plasma blade. All eyes turned to Supreme Science Director Valera as she stepped forward, her ancient form supported by technology so advanced it barely registered as machinery anymore. Director. Supreme Commander Vexthor prompted, his tone carrying unusual deference. Valera's augmented eyes pulsed with calculations as she interfaced directly with the chamber's systems. New displays materialized, showing data streams that made even the most enhanced Dracovians present recoil in confusion. "I've spent the last 10 hours analyzing the quantum archive data," she announced. "What we're seeing, it's not just surveillance or manipulation. It's cultivation." The word hung in the air like a charged particle. Valera continued, her voice carrying the weight of revelation, "The humans haven't just been watching our technological development. They've been gardening it. Pruning dangerous paths, encouraging beneficial ones. And they've been doing it for far longer than we realized." She gestured, and the display shifted to show ancient star charts. "These are from our earliest space exploration records. Look at the pattern of our expansion. We thought we were choosing our path through the stars, but look, points of light connected, forming a complex web. Every major discovery we made, every technological leap, they were like stepping stones, laid out millennia in advance." "Impossible," someone whispered, but the word lacked conviction. "Is it?" Valera challenged. "We've always prided ourselves on our augmentation technology, believing we were pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But look at the progression." The displays showed the evolution of Dracovian enhancement technology. Each breakthrough came just when we needed it, each solution appeared just as the problem became critical. It wasn't natural evolution, it was guided development. Zarax felt his augment's pulse with recognition. He remembered Dr. Mitchell's casual familiarity with his systems, her impossible knowledge. "The humans, they're not just caretakers, are they? They're teachers." "Precisely." Valera's expression shifted to something approaching awe. "But not in the way we understand teaching. They don't simply pass on knowledge, they create conditions for discovery. They've been orchestrating our entire technological development, not to control us, but to prevent us from destroying ourselves." The chamber erupted in debate, enhanced voices carrying complex harmonics of anger, fear, and dawning understanding. Supreme Commander Vexthor raised a hand for silence, his ancient eyes focused on Valera. "You've reached a conclusion," he stated. "Yes." Valera interfaced with the chamber's systems again, bringing up new data streams. "I've analyzed the alternative applications they provided, the ones emphasizing harmony over dominance. They're not just suggestions. They're keys to understanding what the predecessors actually achieved." She manipulated the displays, showing complex technological schematics that made Zarax's most advanced systems struggle to comprehend. The predecessors didn't fall because their technology failed. They fell because they were trying to force transcendence through purely technological means. But look at what the humans are showing us. The schematics shifted, revealing patterns that seemed to dance between technology and something else, something that defied easy classification. They've found a way to blend biological evolution with technological enhancement. Not by forcing it, but by growing it. Their method doesn't just prevent the cascade failures that destroyed the predecessors, it opens up possibilities we never imagined. And they're offering to share this knowledge? Admiral Zarax asked, her tone skeptical. No, Zarax realized, understanding finally dawning. They're offering to teach us how to discover it for ourselves. He remembered Dr. Mitchell's words about learning from those you consider beneath you. This isn't about knowledge transfer, it's about changing how we think about evolution itself. Valera nodded, her ancient eyes bright with excitement. Exactly. The choice they're offering isn't between submission and destruction. It's between continuing to force our evolution through brute force, or learning to guide it with wisdom. Supreme Commander Vexthor rose, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. We have less than 2 hours remaining to make our decision. The future of our species hangs on what we choose. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled over the assembled leaders. Their empire stood at a crossroads, facing a choice between clinging to their illusions of supremacy or embracing a fundamental shift in how they viewed their place in the galaxy. And somewhere, Zarax knew, Dr. Mitchell and her fellow humans were watching, waiting to see if the Dracovians could learn what the predecessors could not. Evolution's path. The ancient Hall of Ancestors fell silent as Supreme Commander Vexthor stepped onto the speaker's dais. Thousands of years of Dracovian history watched from the crystalline walls, holographic echoes of past leaders whose decisions had shaped their civilization. Now, another such moment had arrived. "We have witnessed impossible things," Vexthor began, his voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. "Our certainties have been shaken, our pride challenged, our very understanding of our place in the cosmos, transformed." The assembled leaders waited, their augmented systems humming with anticipation. Zarax stood among them, feeling the weight of history pressing down on this moment. "Before I announce our decision," Vexthor continued, "there is something you must all witness." He gestured to Science Director Valera. "Director, show them what you discovered in the final hour of our deliberations." Valera stepped forward, her ancient form moving with new purpose. The chamber's holographic systems activated, but instead of the expected technical displays, they showed something else entirely: historical recordings from Earth's pre-space age. "These were hidden in our quantum archives," Valera explained, "encrypted in a way that only made sense once we started thinking differently. Watch." The images showed humanity's earliest attempts at enhancement: crude mechanical prosthetics, basic electronic interfaces, primitive genetic modifications. But as the timeline advanced, something remarkable became clear. While other species had pursued enhancement through increasingly complex technology, humans had taken a different approach. They failed, Valera revealed. Failed hundreds of times, in hundreds of ways. But each failure taught them something we never understood: the importance of harmony between biological and technological evolution. The displays shifted to show modern human enhancement technology. Unlike the obvious augmentations of the Dracovians, human enhancements were subtle, almost invisible. Their technology worked with their biology instead of trying to dominate it. Dr. Mitchell, Zarax suddenly understood. Her abilities at Eden, 7. She wasn't using advanced technology. She was demonstrating what true integration looks like. Precisely. Valera manipulated the displays, showing new data. The optimization she performed on your systems wasn't just repair, it was a demonstration. She showed us that our entire approach to enhancement has been fundamentally flawed. Supreme Commander Vexthor raised his hand, and the displays shifted again, showing a familiar face. Dr. Mitchell appeared before them, her expression calm but carrying that same hint of ancient wisdom that had so unsettled Zarax. "Your time has elapsed," she stated simply. "What is your decision?" Vexthor drew himself up to his full height, his augmented form casting dramatic shadows across the chamber. "The Dracovian Empire has ruled the stars through force and technological supremacy. We believed ourselves to be the pinnacle of evolution." He paused, and Zarax detected something he'd never heard in the Supreme Commander's voice before: humility. "We were wrong." The words echoed through the chamber like a physical force. Dr. Mitchell's expression remained neutral, waiting. "We choose to learn," Vexthor continued. "Not as conquerors demanding knowledge, but as students ready to understand. We choose to evolve, not through dominance, but through harmony." A smile touched Dr. Mitchell's lips, the same knowing expression Zarax remembered from Eden, 7. "A wise choice. But understanding comes at a price. Are you prepared for what that means?" "What price?" General Krosthor demanded, plasma flaring from his enhanced systems. "Change," Dr. Mitchell replied simply. "Real change, not just in your technology, but in how you think, how you evolve, how you see yourselves in the greater cosmos." Her image shifted, becoming somehow more present, more real. The predecessors faced this same choice. They chose pride. Their ruins stand as testament to that decision. The chamber's systems suddenly came alive with new data, streams of information about human history, biology, and development that had been hidden in plain sight throughout their archives. But this wasn't just technical data, it was a roadmap of failure, adaptation, and growth. "This is our gift to you," Dr. Mitchell announced. "Not answers, but questions. Not power, but understanding. The beginning of a journey, not its end." The data streams coalesced into complex patterns, showing potential paths of development that made even the most enhanced Dracovians present pause in wonder. These weren't just technological innovations, they were entire new ways of thinking about evolution itself. "We accept," Vexthor declared, and Zarax felt the weight of history in those words. Dr. Mitchell nodded, and the chamber's systems pulsed with new energy. "Then let us begin. Captain Zarax, step forward." Surprised, Zarax moved to the center of the chamber. Dr. Mitchell's image focused on him, and he felt his augments respond to some unseen signal. "Your enhanced systems have already begun the adaptation process," she explained. "You will be the bridge between old and new, the first of your kind to understand what true enhancement means. Are you prepared for this responsibility?" Zarax thought back to that first meeting at Eden 7, to the moment when he'd felt small before her wisdom. He understood now that feeling small wasn't a weakness, it was the beginning of growth. "I am ready," he declared. "Then let us show you what the predecessors were really trying to achieve," Dr. Mitchell smiled. "Not the power to conquer the cosmos, but the wisdom to become part of its greater harmony." The chamber's systems began to pulse with new energy as streams of data flowed directly into their neural networks. But this wasn't the brutal force of their old enhancements, this was something different, something that worked with their biology instead of trying to overcome it. As the new understanding began to flow through his systems, Zarax finally grasped the truth: humanity hadn't evolved beyond the need for enhancement, they had evolved beyond the need to prove their superiority. Their greatest strength wasn't in their technology, but in their ability to learn, adapt, and grow while maintaining their essential nature. The Dracovian Empire was about to embark on its greatest adventure, not a journey of conquest, but one of transformation. And as the first waves of change began to ripple through their civilization, Zarax understood that this was what true evolution looked like, not a battle for supremacy, but a dance of harmony between past and future, biology and technology, power and wisdom. The age of conquest was over. The age of understanding had begun. The end.